Hello my dear students, this is your BGS teacher Fariha Tasrim. Today we are going to discuss Chapter 1 Liberation Movement of Bangladesh. Lesson 1 The Language Movement in page 1 to 4. Chapter 1 Liberation Movement of Bangladesh. The birth of independent Bangladesh is the most important event in the history of Bengali nation. The Bengalis continued to protest and battle against the exploitation, suppression and discrimination of the Pakistani regimes since the movements against the British rule. The language movement of 1952 East Pakistan Provincial Assembly election, the movement against martial law, different student movements, etc. are mentionable among them. Besides, the 6-point movement, historic case of Agartala, movement for cultural rights, the mass uprising of 1969 and the general election of 1970 contributed to the national renaissance of the Bengalis. These incidents and events accelerated the anti-Pakistan spirit and motivated the people towards Bengali nationalism. As a result, the mass people wholeheartedly took part in the War of Independence as it broke out in 1971. Bangladesh achieved independence through this bloodletting war. From this chapter highlights the significant phases of movements and struggle of liberation against Pakistan. The language movement. After the independence of Pakistan, there is confusion about the policies and ideologies of state. The situation can be called a crisis of solidarity and unity. The main logic for the establishment of Pakistan was that the Hindus and the Muslims were two different nations. Jinnah, initiator of the two-nation theory, declared in the National Assembly only after a few days of the independence of Pakistan, forgetting identities like Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, Christian or Punjabi, Bengali, Sindhi, Pakhtun. Everyone will now be Pakistani only. Although they spoke about united Pakistan, their means were always Islam, the religion, and Urdu, the language. Thus they stood against all other religions, languages and cultures. They even took a stand against the rich heritage of Bangla literature. The then Pakistani government took hostile position against the literary writers like Rabindranath, Michael and Bomkin. The linguist Dr. Muhammad Shahidullah, along with many other intellectuals and literatures, came forward with a view to protecting Bangla language, literature, culture and heritage. Dr. Muhammad Shahidullah is one of his speeches at this period said, "It is obvious that we are Hindus and Muslims, but it is more a truth that we are Bengalis. It is not an ideology, rather it is a fact. Nature in her own hands has awarded us with such resemblances as Bengalis. We have no scope to hide that with our garlands, tilak, tuff or cap, lungi, beard." Soon after independence of Pakistan, the issue of its state language came up. The conscious and literate Bengalis of East Bengal raised their voice in favor of Bangla. But the then Pakistan government started conspiracy to make Urdu the state language. In March of 1948, father of Pakistan and first Governor General Muhammad Ali Jinnah declared Urdu would be the only state language of Pakistan. When he gave this declaration in a meeting with teachers and students at Curzon Hall of Dhaka University, the students shouted out in protest, "No, no, no." Educationalists, literatures, intellectuals and most of the political leaders of this country supported Bangla language in this issue. Dhirendranath Datta, a member of the National Assembly and later a martyr of 1971, proposed Bangla as the state language of Pakistan, but the Prime Minister Liaquat Ali Khan strongly encountered of this proposal. Sadly, Many Bengali members of Muslim League also stood against the proposition, but it was rational only for Bangla to get the status. The then population of Pakistan was 6 crore 90 lakh, of which the Bengalis were 4 crore 40 lakh. Urdu was not even the mother tongue of the rest 2.5 crore. The Pakistani ruling group tried to impose the language of the minority on the majority Bengalis. The Bengalis did not demand Bangla as the only state language. They wanted the recognition of Bangla as a state language alongside Urdu. Many initiatives were taken in East Bengal to ensure the right of Bangla, the mother tongue. By this time, the all-party state language committee was formed by the progressive politicians and the students of Dhaka University. Qazi Ghulam Mahbub, Shaukat Ali, Ghaziul Haq, Muhammad Toha, Abdul Motin and Sheikh Mujibur Rahman were active among the students and youth under its leadership. A strike was called on 11 March 1948 to further press the rightful demand for Bangla. Most of the leaders, including Oli Ahad, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and Qazi Ghulam Mahbub, were arrested. Many students were wounded due to brutality of the police force. This also did not stop movement for the language. Dhaka University and many other academic institutions went on strike in protest of this incident. The students continued with their movement. They decided to lay a siege at the Pakistan National Assembly during its winter session in 1952 in Dhaka and place a memorandum. The day was set on 21st February. The Muslim League-led government under the Chief Minister of East Bengal Nurul Amin decided to resist the students. The provincial authority imposed Section 144 in Dhaka University area. It prohibited more than 4 persons to get together and bring out procession. But the demonstrating students would not obey that. They were ready to take any courageous steps in order to uphold the dignity and right of their mother tongue. In a meeting held the previous night, the students decided to violate Section 144 to perform the procession. Armed police pounced on the demonstrating students that day. First, they charged batons and shot tear gas. They could not control the protesters. Then they opened fire on the procession led by Abdul Motin and Ghaziul Haq. Rafiquddin, Abdul Jabbar and Abul Barkat were spot dead at this, while numerous others were injured. They were admitted into Dhaka Medical College Hospital. Abdus Salam died under treatment on 22 February. Police again fired on a student crowd rally and killed Shafiur Rahman and Oliullah, a 9-year-old boy. Besides, some anonymous people also died on 21 and 22 February. All of them are language martyrs. On 23rd February, students of Dhaka Medical College built a mausoleum on the spot the students were killed on 21st February. This temporary mausoleum was replaced by a larger one in 1963. Today, it is known as the Central Shohid Minar. Significance of language movement. The Bengalis poured their blood and established the dignity of mother tongue. The East Pakistan legislature decided in favor of Bangla as one of the state languages. In 1956, the first constitution of Pakistan also gave this recognition, as it included Bangla as one of the state languages. Thus, the language movement met its successful ending. Finally, the conquest of the Bengali nation was achieved. Both Bangla and Urdu were declared state languages, and this brought victory for the Bengalis as a nation. The success of the people's lawful movement for their mother tongue strengthened the nationalist spirit among the educated Bengalis. Besides the pride in Bangla language, Bangla literature and 1,000 years heritage, the Bengalis also regained their confidence. The whole world pays respect to this movement for language by the Bengalis. Our language movement received international recognition in 1999. On 17 November of that year, UNESCO declared 21st February as the International Mother Language Day. All nations around the world observe this day as a tribute to their respective mother tongues. They also recall the supreme sacrifice of the Bengalis endured during the language movement. Lesson 2, United Front. 21-point program objectives incorporated in the election manifesto of the United Front. Conspiracies of Pakistani rulers since its inception led the people of East Bengal to feel aggrieved. People of different opinions built unity on the issue of self-protection and development. Muslim League, the ruling party, turned into a symbol of conspiracy and repression. Major political parties and their leaders wanted to defeat Muslim League in the election and thus establish rights of the Bengalis. They formed an alliance ahead of the election of East Bengal Provincial Assembly in 1954. This alliance is known as the United Front. The Awami Muslim League, Krishok Shromik Party, Nizami Islami and Ganotantri Party joined the United Front during this election. This front has a significant role in our movement towards liberation. Formation of the United Front and 21-point manifesto. The election of 1954 was not the National Assembly election of the two parts of Pakistan. It was only provincial election of East Bengal. This election is a milestone in the history of our struggle against the oppression of the West Pakistani rulers. More specifically, it wanted to put up resistance against the Muslim League's actions to undermine Bengali nation, Bangla language and culture. 16 other parties, including the ruling Muslim League, contested the election, but the main contest took place between United Front and Muslim League. The United Front's election symbol was boat. The front was led by three veteran leaders, Shere Bangla A.K. Fazlul Haq, Maulana Abdul Hamid Khan Bhashani and Hossein Shahid Sarwardi. Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman took the spotlight among the youth with his growing popularity. The United Front announced their 21 points in the manifesto to the public. It proposed the recognition of Bangla as one of the state languages of Pakistan, cancellation of Jamindar system, nationalization of jute industry, introduction of cooperative farming, and compulsory free primary education for implementation. It also included cancellation of all unjust laws violating human rights, construction of Shahid Minar for the language martyrs, declaration of 21st February as a public holiday, and autonomy to East Bengal. The establishment of Bangla Academy for the development of Bangla language and literature was also a point in it. Result of the election. The Muslims and other religious followers had separate seats allotted in 1954 election and voting was also held separately. The United Front achieved a landslide victory with 236 seats out of 309 in this election, with only 9 seats. The Muslim League had a disaster. Independent candidates and other parties won the rest of the seats. Newspapers and magazines at home and abroad termed this victory of United Front a Ballot Revolution. This election was the first ever adult franchise of East Bengal. Bengali nationalism worked as a tonic for Bengalis to cast votes for the symbol boat. The crushing defeat of Muslim League proved that one could not deceive the people using religion for oppression. It also proved that no government could expect to continue ruling while being suppressive and oppressive against language and culture of a populace. This new nationalistic spirit has motivated the Bengalis in the later events. On the other hand, Muslim League came to be known as an anti-people party. Factionalism severely came into effect in the party by 1957 and they take off from state power. In the election of 1970, the party failed to obtain any seat. Reasons behind the defeat of Muslim League and victory of United Front. The post-independence role of Muslim League angered the Bengalis. Besides, the success of language movement inspired them towards a change in the political landscape of the country. The United Front presented diverse opinions and ideologies under one banner, which had an effect on the voters. The election manifesto also sufficiently mirrored the hopes and aspirations of the population. Apart from recognition of Bangla language and provincial autonomy, the manifesto reflected demands of all walks of people of our society. The 21-point program is also a reason for the success. The United Front presented a unique mixture of old and young leaders and workers. The young workers worked vigorously for the front. On the contrary, the manifesto of Muslim League was obscure and full of loose ends. The party leaders, being alienated from the people, could not stand a chance. Misrule, price hike, oppression, factionalism, corruption, disparity between the two parts of Pakistan can be termed as some of the reasons for the crushing defeat of Muslim League. Achievements of Bengalis. The Pakistani ruling class never refrained from hatching conspiracies since independence. Always the same trend continued. Using special powers, they dissolved the United Front government within 2 months. A civil government was formed under the new constitution. However, President Iskandar Mirza declared martial law on 7 October 1958 on the pretext of deterioration of law and order situation in the country. Later, General Ayub Khan ousted Iskandar Mirza from the presidency and proclaimed himself as the new president. All activities of political parties were banned from 1958 to 1962. Many leaders were sent to jail. The Bengali students came forward to fill up the vacuum. Ayub Khan presented a new constitution which shattered the democratic aspirations of Bengalis. The students of East Bengal took to the streets. The movement grew stronger with the declaration of National Education Policy. This education policy is known as Sharif Commission. The commission recommended Urdu as the sole medium of education in both parts of Pakistan. Cancellation of free education and lessening opportunity to higher education. There was massive protest from the students on this part. The government was ultimately forced to cancel the Sharif Commission's education policy. That's all for today. Stay safe and stay healthy and stay positive.